In this video, I will discuss about the basic concepts of assessment. The overarching principles and founding concepts of assessment are introduced in this section and are aimed to develop the basic knowledge and value of assessment in schools and other educational or training institutions. The teacher and assessment. A teacher is a facilitator of learning. Preparing a teaching lesson cannot just be completed in a round-the-clock period, as it always demands envisioning how to make teaching interesting, motivating, and truly learning. It employs various teaching principles, methods, and techniques for assurance that indeed there is teaching. This title teacher poses a major and never-ending challenge of producing effective teaching learning outcomes with the learners. A teacher does not deserve to be addressed as teacher unless there is discovery of a successful transmission of learning among the students, and that the learner has also shown some indications that teaching was indeed learned. Hence, assessment is an indispensable means for and of learning. Any educational or training institution shall only determine the success and failure of their existence through assessment, and the value judgment on its result is basic for educational or organizational or institutional improvement plans in all levels. The way that the teacher is convinced that indeed his learners truly have learned is to conduct an assessment. Regardless of what system and instrument he employs, through this, he is able to discover what are learned and not, who learned and not, and which teaching method is good and not. Hence, imperative of every teacher is to conduct assessment for him to be assured that he is indeed a teacher because he has the individual who learned. Next will be assessment and learning. Assessment is a scientific process of determining the present state or condition of a specific and definite phenomenon with the purpose of imposing programs and activities for development and improvement. In school, it refers to all those activities undertaken by teachers and by their students in assessing themselves, which provide information to be used as feedback to modify the teaching and learning activities in which they are engaged to achieve the purpose. Then, learning refers to the sequential process of transmitting to and possessing of knowledge on the basic educational domains along cognitive, affective, and psychomotor of certain individual or group. Then we have the basic features of National Competency-Based Teacher Standards. The National Competency-Based Teacher Standards has developed a professional guide for all Filipino teachers anchored on the Philippine Education for All 2015 to the Basic Education Sector Reform Agenda, wherein we have the educational purposes. As the national framework, the NCBTS serves the general purposes as follows. 1. Defines the various components of effective learning. 2. Provides assistance to teachers in the improvement of their professional life. 3. Guides the teachers in all phases of professional development from local to national. 4. Gives a reference for teachers' education institutions to design and implement effective pre-service teacher education program. 5th, helps the Professional Regulation Commission in designing the board licensure examination for professional teachers. 6. Provides a framework for schools in redesigning and implementing in-service education for teachers and in planning interventions thereon. 7. Helps the award-giving bodies in setting and defining criteria for outstanding teachers. And lastly, lays grounds for teaching learning agencies in formulating policies and guidelines for admission and promotion of both students and teachers. Next will be the educational principles. The NCBTS carries the educational principles that 1. Schools are key providers of basic education and shall continuously improve. 2. Teachers are ethical and excellent professionals and shall further enhance their contributions to learning outcomes. 3. Learning competencies in Filipino, English, science, and mathematics are basic and are primary institutional and social strategy. Then, lastly, the Department of Education is the driver of institutional reform and is responsible in the development of basic education. Next is the educational domains. Focusing the new educational concepts, the NCBTS deals with the following domains. First, the social regard for learning. This domain leads the teacher to develop the issue of whether or not the students appreciate and model the value of learning through various interactions in the classroom with him. Then, we have the learning environment. It brings to an issue whether or not the teacher creates a social environment in the classroom where students feel being treated fairly, safe, and able to learn quickly, achieve at high level, and in orderly social climate and organization. Third, the diversity of learners. This answers the issue on whether or not the teacher helped the students learn within their capabilities and styles, cultural heritage, socio-economic backgrounds, and other differing attributes. Fourth, the curriculum. This focuses in resolving the issue on whether or not the teacher has shown the sufficient knowledge and understanding of the subject matter and the students appreciate the lesson taught, enables the student to value the goals and objectives thereon, helps students attain the objectives within the time frame, and efficiently use teaching learning resources that challenge the students to meet high level of mastery and understanding of learning objectives. Fifth, we have planning, assessing, and reporting. It creates the issue on whether or not the teacher communicates accurately and timely information to stakeholders about the learning progress of students, assesses the student learning outcomes using the appropriate instrument, procedure, and use of information in planning succeeding learning activities, and monitors and regularly provides feedbacks about students' learning. 6 is the community linkages. This domain develops the issue on whether or not the teacher establishes teaching learning goals and objectives where the activities are relevant to the unique experiences, values, and aspirations of student communities. And lastly, the personal growth and professional development. This creates the issue on whether or not the teacher manifests indications in actions and statements a high regard for teaching profession, has the desire for professional advancement, the interest to build professional interpersonal relationships with his colleagues to enrich teaching practice, and the awareness of the extent the employed teaching practices have influenced the students in attaining the learning goals and objectives. And lastly, we have the paradigm shift in education. So the traditional concept of education is putting emphasis on the techniques and activities of the teacher to ascertain that all students are able to learn. So this concept is inclined to the preparation of the teacher and is therefore teacher-centered approach. It always considers the importance of knowledge obtained from prerequisites in the curriculum which the students have undergone. The present trend focuses on the learners. This modern educational trend is on determining the ways through which the unique individual student is able to satisfactorily learn from instruction in his own pace and style. This new educational concept analyzes the individual experiences and the capabilities to learn here and now in the future. So we have here a table which shows the educational paradigm shift from traditional to new. So from teaching is a teaching process to teaching is facilitating learning. From teacher acknowledges a technical knowledge applicable to all learners and contexts to teacher's knowledge is essential, complex, and problematic, and the applicability varies across learners and contexts. So before, teaching involves consistent application of technical knowledge. Now, teaching involves reflective and flexible application of technical knowledge that brings best about individual student learning. Before, effective application of teacher knowledge is dependent on the prerequisite inputs in teaching environment. Now, effective teaching is determined within the limits and opportunities found in the present and existing learning environment. So those are the basic concepts on assessment. Thank you for watching and I hope you have learned something.